Good morning.
How are you?
So far, so good. That is a good morning in Brooklyn, but it's not where you are.
It's a nasty evening in London town here.
And we have a beautiful day in Brooklyn.
Do you have snow already?
And no, we're not in New York, but
Oh.
up there north and Buffalo, Chicago, they have a lot.
You do realize we're just interviewing you about the weather.
Yes, that's okay.
Okay, you got that brief.
That's a very good subject. Everybody's talking about the weather, but nobody's doing anything about it. That's Mark Twain said that once. But the leaves of the ginkgo tree in front of the house in which I live in Brooklyn fell down overnight. Now the branches are just with not even a single leaf in one night. That's ginkgo tree is known for that. Keeps all its leaves more longer than any other tree practically, and they are beautifully yellow, beautifully. And then after the first really cold night, in the morning, all the leaves are on the ground.
I was reading a quote of yours. I remember the feeling of intensity I experienced just from describing the actual details of what my father did every day. I've been trying to find that intensity in my work ever since.
Yes, that's one of the challenges. Yes.
What is the most intense thing you've ever felt in your life?
There are, you cannot really measure it, but one of the most memorable intense moments of intensity that I remember was that from my childhood when I was like 4, 5, maybe 6 years old, when I used to sit in the evening on the bed of my father. Bed is a very big part in a small, farming apartments, and recite like sing song the events of the day with great intensity, such intensity that I remember even today. I can see myself there singing, reciting the events of the day in a sort of very factual manner. Fact. And that, like going to the essence of the day. And that's what happens every time I get into a situation with my camera when I want to record something that is there happening in front of me. Um, there are moments when the only way is to catch the essence of it is to submerge yourself, to give up yourself. You don't exist. You submerge into it totally, and then it's a moment of great intensity. At the same time, you don't exist. If you give yourself to it, you are in it, you are part of it, and you are no longer, you give up your own ego subjectivity and you are with it, you are in the middle of it, with it, and you go.
But why do you think it's important to
It's
give
like
up the? Mhm.
when I remember the singing of in my village when I grew up. There was a lot of singing in the evening or during the weekends, like young people, and not only young, get together and they sing their folk songs, and they become like one. They merge together, like they are not. There is no longer like individuality. Each one tries to be himself. No, it's just one song. They are like one thing. You are merging with all the others. You are giving sort of up yourself for the sake of being for the sake of song, for being together. All those emotions of five people singing together, let's say five, six, they become like one. They in voices, they listen to each other's voices. They go like in any group, any rock band does that practically. Yes, if each one would retain individual and try to just show his own or her own voice and ignore what others are, all the other voices, all the other tonalities, and then it wouldn't work. It would be just showing yourself off. And that happens also. And then there is no song. Then it's just somebody trying to show off. It has to be the best music bands, rock, whatever, when they really merge, when it's like one. Even if, there is one lead singer, but that lead singer is part of the whole.
I wanted to ask about your dreams. You have published a book with your dreams. What was your recent dream, the funny dream?
I was dreaming was like flowers just passing my eyes. I'm like all the amazing colors, all those flowers, and then I woke up and I told this dream to my friend August, and she said, "You know what it means? That means that in one of your lives, you were a bee." A bee. Just look even at your nose, you look a little bit like a bee. So I put that on my website, and somebody in Spain liked it so much that they just received the other day a magazine where they pulled out the images of those flowers and my text they printed. But then you see it's more. Then I added a note from the poet Rilke that he received a letter from another poet, some Polish poet, and it says, we are all, we poets, we are all like bees collecting honey from various places and then putting in the hive of humanity. We are all like bees. That's what I wrote once about Lithuanians in 17th, 16th, 18th century when Lithuania was merged with Poland. But Lithuania built Vilnius. The architects that came, the young Lithuanians went to study to other countries, to Italy, to France, to Italy. And then they brought back the best that they had picked up from in other countries, like bees, picking up things and bringing back to Vilnius, back to Lithuania. And they built Vilnius, all white. It's a little bit like Italy, Italian city, but yes.
I'm sure you know the book Slaughterhouse 5.
Yes.
There's something about your work that kind of makes me think of the main character, Billy Pilgrim, that you're not living time in a linear way. You're kind of...
Keep jumping up.
You're sort of... Can you hear?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. But that you're sort of jumping around through time.
Yeah, chaos. I live in chaos. Because you see, most of the normal thing is, go to school, primary school, then, college, university, you have very, very linear kind of life, education, growing up. I did not have that. I was in primary school, okay, but then already when I had to go to high school, Russian tanks roll into Lithuania. So already disrupted. So I did not. Then I picked up university. It's already after the war. I was in displaced person camps in Germany already when I could go to pick up some of the university studies. But it was already like too late. I had already other dreams and already, and I was writing poetry. And so I went to, I listed up, I will study philosophy because I wanted to be smart, you see. So I realized it's pretty boring, that philosophical stuff. So I went to medical classes. I went to the art history. I just traveled through university. I did not study. So it's like, I think it was Pushkin who wrote once that you say a poet is one who studies a little bit of everything, like my Russian все учились понемножко и где-нибудь, и где-нибудь, и как-нибудь. We all learned a little bit from there, and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. That's what it's like. Bees picking up honey from all those different flowers and still ends up as honey. Yeah. That's, I live in a chaos. I picked, and then I'm thrown. Even the languages. First time in a small village in Lithuania. That's where I grew up. The village of Semeniškė. 20 families. But in that area, we had our own special dialect of police, which is sort of very rough. And then you go to next town, 20 kilometers further, Biržai, already different dialect. Like the letter, the sound A becomes A or O. So then when I went to primary school, I had to learn the official Lithuanian literary language because I was speaking in a dialect. Then in gymnasium, we began learning French, Latin. Then Russians come and they say, Latin unnecessary, French is no good, Russian is good. So I learned Russian. Then Germans push out Russians, and Germans come in and they say, Russian no good, German is good. So I drop Russian and I begin to learn German. Then I end up in this place, in forced labor camp near Hamburg. So now it's bad, I'm in forced labor camp, but I can learn at least, I will learn German. And in the barracks where they put me, there were some Italian war prisoners. So I said, now I will learn Italian and German. Then I discovered that the Germans in that area spoke in a very special dialect. It's known as Plattdeutsch. And even Germans don't understand it. And then the Italians, they put me together in the barracks, were from Sicily. And they spoke, the other Italians they barely understood them. So forget it. And then we are liberated, and English and Americans come. Now I will learn English. I forget all the languages. Now I'm going to speak English. Then they dropped me in New York, and I said, all those languages, but cinema is the language, because cinema, everybody understands cinema. It's an international language. So I get my camera, my bollocks, I begin to film, and I begin to make little films and show to my friends. And then some of my other grown-up, serious Lithuanian friends see what I'm doing and say, what is this? What are you doing? This is not cinema. Cinema is in Hollywood. What? I don't understand your cinema. And what I discovered that I made a big mistake. Instead of learning the Hollywood language of Hollywood cinema, I learned the avant-garde film, poetic cinema language. Again, so then I said, forget all languages, including the language of cinema. I will just do what I want. And that's what I'm doing.
And it's almost like you kind of forgot the language of time as well, the way everything is kind of abstract and non-linear.
I don't know. I think everything is mixed up. I don't think I can follow. I think we are all complicated, and you cannot reduce and simplify, linear, non-linear. I think it's more complicated than that. Like in the literary or film forms, there is no pure just narrative, and there is nothing else. The narrative take the best works of literature, and the poetry and prose merge, and you don't know where poetry comes, prose begins and ends, and then poetry take Joyce, Ulysses. What is it? Where is the more intense and concentrated, or Moby Dick by Melville, it's poetry. It's like it goes into ecstasies. It's Homer. Is it? What is it? It's a narrative, but it's poetry. It's epic poetry. So then you go down to some lyrical little poems or haiku where it's really pure. That's in its kind of very pure. But then it opens, it grows, and becomes complicated. The same in cinema, diaristic form in which I work. They say, oh, diary. This is not narrative cinema. No, it is. And diary form is a narrative form of cinema. It's I'm telling a story of my own, my friends, and there are people are in my films. If you watch my films, you can string them all together and follow my life from the moment I landed in New York to this moment that I'm speaking to you. And there are people that come into it. There are children. They are born. They grow up. There are people who you see at the beginning of my diaries. You see their lives, and you see them. They are already dead. They are no longer there. Other people come in. It's a huge narrative, huge story. But within that story, there are moments that are like lyrical little poems. Moments when I stop and I concentrate just on a flower. Yes.
I will maybe digress a little bit. I just don't know why I hear myself.
And you can go any direction. I can answer any question that you may have, any subject.
In Colombia, there is a tribe called Kogi, and what they do, I mean, some people can find it repulsive or disgusting or abusive, but they select certain children and assign them as healers. And then I think from 3 to 7 years old, they live in this kind of like a dark cave, and they live there inside with their mother, so they're taken care of. But the most important thing is that they sort of learn to unsee somehow. So when they learn to live without visual stimulation, they sort of learn to hear the earth. What do you think about this method?
Yes, there are in all, especially all their, tribes, cultures, methods of escape the uniformity in that we have in all of the societies on any level, and to sort of go like to the other side of it. they have methods. There are shamans. There are, yes, that's not easy today, especially when we are surrounded. Everybody wants that. There is so much production, so much control by corporations that you should be wearing the same thing. Everywhere the shoes are the same, the pants the same, the skirts, the caps, and then what we see, what we eat, what we drink becomes more or less. We have that, and it's very difficult to escape that. But I think that in every area one can still go to the source, to the be it not on, I mean, even in art, but in food, in drinks, in every aspect, how what we eat, what we drink is produced. One can go to back to the original source. That's what I call the fragments of paradise, where because but it's not easy. But there is, I think, more and more of that. The new generation today, that is like between 20 and 25, somewhere there, are very much concerned with that, going back to the roots, back to what we have lost, and this has been distorted by by corporations, by money makers, and those who. Okay, we have in United Nations, we have 200 or so countries. Now, there are two tendencies. Because I would like to have like 3,000 countries in United Nations. That, to me, every area that has still its own language and history, culture, and wants to be independent, should be independent and should be part of United Nations. But now there is other like drive, and those like, okay, the 3 or 4 countries, big countries, they want that all those other countries be part of them, in order to reduce, even though they don't like that there are even 200 countries. They would like to be like maybe only 5 or 6. The 5 big ones, the 6 big ones, the 4 big ones, and that's, so that's the challenge today, that how to go retain and go back to as much as possible to the original, to earth, to pretty, it looks pretty hopeless sometimes. And humanity is pretty bad. Humanity is pretty. Cinema is pure. Cinema is tool. Camera, motion picture, video camera is just a tool, like a knife, you can cut bread or you can kill. With the same with, yeah. But it's innocent. But humanity is not innocent. Humanity is bad. Bad. Very bad.
I was reading something you were saying about when the Soviet tanks rumbled in, when you hid behind a wall and took photographs, and then the photographs were confiscated.
Ended up in the dust, in the road dust. Like 10 years of my diaries were lost also. I buried them. When I left, I buried them in the ground. I began already like at the age of 6, when I did not know how to write. I kept a diary of pictures, drawings. I made drawings. And then when I learned to write, I began to write. But all that, I could not take anything, so I buried, and that's gone. So there is a lot of loss, but it's lost.
How do they exist in your memory?
They exist only as something I did, and something that is gone, and inevitably, and Sometimes, I think, oh, it would be good to have them, to see what I wrote. It was a record of living, a young boy living on a farm in Lithuania, but it's gone. It's gone. It's like those first photographs that I took and ended up under the boot of the Russian soldier. It's gone. What can you do?
I wanted to ask, do you remember the first time you made love to an American girl?
Well, I can only tell you how I met her. I met her at the Museum of Modern Art in front of a painting by Chelichev. There she stands, looks, I stand, and she asks me, what do you think? Do you like it? I said, sure, I like it. It's a great, great painting. It's a great painting by Chelichev. It's very surrealistic.
Could you describe, or even if you can't remember, the most intense kiss that you ever experienced in your life? Can you remember how that felt?
Same as you when you had your first kiss. How you felt?
I can't remember.
You can't?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I you know that I asked this. There was Japanese artist. He's in LA now, Hiro Yamagata, and he had a show in New York, and he painted only lips, lips of women that he knew, and I'm there at the opening, and one of his friends was Schwarzenegger. So he's there, so I come to Schwarzenegger, said, do you you recognize any, if you like this, the slip? Said, yes, I remember every lip I kissed. That was Schwarzenegger.
I remember reading you talking about smells quite a bit.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about smells, their relation to emotion?
I don't know. That smell, it's a different sense. Smell, the nose, it's not ear and not tongue. Of course, smell, taste, yes. But smells, I can only... smell is one of the maybe longest lasting senses. Okay, visual, I remember from the childhood, the trees, how fragile when just little leaves appear in the spring, the color, and I'm there in the woods. We had, our farm was surrounded by woods, young spring woods, how they look, I remember very, very clearly. But I not as strong as some of the smells. Like I have written about it. Like I walk to Times Square, and suddenly I have to stop. Suddenly the smell of a fresh bark of a birch tree comes it surrounds me, and I have to stop. I'm amazed. What this? And it comes from there, from childhood. The smells, certain smells, can follow you. Just hit you. They come from back from somewhere deep there. Nothing disappears. What we see, what we smell, it registers in our cells, bodies, atoms, and it's there until suddenly they can jump out unprovoked, or they jump out when there is some provocation. And it's amazing. Smells are, I remember smells of trees, of plants, of flowers. There was a woman, old woman, healer. She healed with flowers, giving baths and teas. And I was her collector of flowers. Because I knew every flower within like 5 mile or so radius, what flowers I could find there and there and there. And I collected them, and she would, dry them, and I still remember the smell of every flower that I was collecting and taking to this healer woman. Smells are very strong, but of course there is no movement. Movement is something else, and cinema is not exactly movement. You said cinema is time and movement. It's nonsense, because movement is everywhere. Like, can you see? You cannot see a painting without moving your eye. You cannot see it. To see a painting, you need time and you need and movement. From the eye can, if you just you can focus your eye only on tiny spot. You can see the whole. Cannot see the painting in it. The eye travels. That takes time and movement. And cinema, every frame. There are 24 frames per second, let's say, in cinema, film, not video. And the essence of it is that every frame stops for 1/24 of a second. It's static, and it's then another static frame comes in, then another 24 of them per second. So there is no movement really, only in time. But the same with the play, or you read a book, there is time. So time is not essential to cinema. It's essential to every art. But we perceive every art, everything in time. So forget time. Time is not important.
I saw a film with you singing, "I am searching for nothing, I am happy." Would you describe yourself as being an anti-utopian?
That was a little bit. I was inspired there by Picasso. So I don't search, I find. That was Picasso. So maybe when I was singing that, maybe. But of course, I'm not searching. Why should I be searching for anything? I'm not a scientist, or I'm not an explorer of that. I just live. I'm real. I'm not searching for anything. No, I'm just living from moment to moment, and trying to do it as best as I can, and not to do any damage to anything. Not to harm anybody or anything. And that's it. I'm not searching. When I film, whatever I film, it's part of what I do every day. Suddenly I'm in a situation which I feel, and I was not searching for it, but I feel that this is a moment, something is there I should be taping or filming. And I pull out my camera and I get involved in it. But I'm not searching. So
the things just happen to you.
To everybody, we are in the middle. Life is, we are in the middle of this ocean called life, and not that it's happening to me. I'm part of what happens.
When you dance, or when you danced when you were younger, would you say you were someone who danced more with your feet your hips or your arms?
I never was really the great or even good dancer. I don't know. I was more like a bookworm. I was not known for. I danced more later, really, than earlier. When I was growing up, there were not that many real. I was not much part of dancing situations. More later, and yeah, a little bit, but not. That's not my. No, I cannot waltz. Yeah, some people always tell me that my stop moving those hands. No, no.
Oh no, you're definitely dancing with them though.
Yes, I cannot stop doing that. Yes.
I'm kind of interested that you've still got a relatively strong accent after 70 years in America.
Yes, because some other educated Lithuanians who came at the same time to New York as I said, "Oh, you have this bad accent. You should take some lessons and get rid of it." And they took, classes, and they became, they all wanted to be and became businessmen and all that. So they had to speak, perfectly to fit into this, but I never felt like I should do that. I said, okay, if I eventually lose it or sort of make it more acceptable, understandable, that's fine. But I'm not going to take any special lessons, and I never. So I still have, of course, a bad accent, but that's okay,
Going back to Lithuania, I read somewhere that you said the local boys nicknamed you Death.
Not real. That was not the right translation of more like guilty. That's more skeleton, not death. Really, skeleton. Because I was very thin. I was very sick. Went through diseases that I don't know now because I was only like 3 or 4 years or 5 old when I went through a series of some diseases, illnesses, and I was when I remember again I have written about this already, and I sometimes feel I'm like just repeating myself that I used to the village women around me standing, and they're very sick, and then they say, "Oh, poor boy, he's not going to live. He will die." Oh, you! I will leave you. I will show you. You stupid! You horrible people telling me, talking about me like that. So in a case, when I went to primary school, I was very, very sort of thin, and that other kids used to call me guilty man, which is like skeleton.
Do you believe in ghosts?
Not believe a ghost. It's sort of popular, vulgar reference to the complicated world in which we are and what we are and the dimensions of existence and cosmos and the complicated in its essence what it's all about. Because I believe that there is a reverberation of worlds and spheres, the dimensions, and we are just at one spot in that whole system. So to call it, ghosts, or that's a vulgar, just as simplification of what what's all about.
So I suppose there'd be no point in asking you if you kind of believed in an eternal soul for each individual. I mean, that's almost the same question.
Yes, even the term, the word soul, it's so complicated. It's not. You cannot put it in the in a dictionary and explain it to describe what it is in 3 or 4 or 5 words, because in all of the civilizations that go as far as, we have record and memory, there are different understandings in references, explanations, definitions that you cannot reduce to one simple formula what the soul or you believe in soul, because to begin with we don't know what it is and how it is, and we will never know. So I'm against reducing and simplifying the existence and what we are and where we are going, where we are coming from, and all the levels and complications of what we are all about. I'm not going to say that, yes, I believe in soul, as if that, like holding an apple in your hand, this is the soul, this is an apple. No, it's much more complicated.
Somehow I can see that evoked in your work as well, that kind of randomness, but that almost something quite kind of modest in terms of you don't state facts, you're just almost like a very objective scientist.
Sometimes I refer to myself as anthropologist. I'm recording humanity of my times, my contemporaries, as much as I can, as much as a document reality, as much as it can be caught on video or film or in writing, and how the feelings, the emotions. I'm not an abstract filmmaker or artist. I'm interested in people, in emotions, in reality in which I am.
Do you think your anthropology, could it be described as voyeuristic at all?
Yes, what is voyeurism or voyeuristic? I mean, every artist has to be voyeuristic, is voyeuristic, especially those who work with images. Every painter, every filmmaker, the eyes, we see, we are concerned and record. We are voyeurs par excellence. We are. Without it, there would not be art, and there would be no painting, no cinema. If one is a voyeur, one looks only for the sake of look. One never looks for the same of just looking. One always has some reason, like is obsessed for some self-gratification for, okay, let's say one wants to look at some, maybe, okay, the legs of women. If some men get obsessed looking just at legs, voyeur, but there is then some specific focus on some not very I'd say normal. It's exaggerated interest to look at something for some that gives you certain pleasure. It's okay to see a thing that you like that gives you pleasure. You see, voyeurism has also levels, and at some point where it's almost sick, in some form, and in some states, on some levels, it's normal, and so it's not simple. There is no simple answer here. Also, you see, but definitely it's part of art, for visual arts.
Can I ask a question? I remember you made this short video with when you were speaking about Britney Spears when she shaved her head, and about this breakdown. And is there anyone now similar to like that moment of Britney Spears that you would like to speak about?
Yeah, because you cannot. That shows the intensity that that is in her. That how concerned that she's boiling, burning there, and at some point the burning. There is a fish. There is a like in electricity, too much burning produces clashes, nervous breakdowns, and. But that shows her intensity. And others, those who have, I have said many times that I don't believe in artists who never had nervous breakdowns. That means they are going on the surface. They don't really care deeply, totally, intensely about what they're singing on or writing or painting. And not necessarily that everybody has to have, every artist has to have nervous breakdown, but very close to it. No, I sometimes say that I have gone through many nervous breakdowns in my life. There are certain points when you are so concerned, or just before coming to the States, I think I was at the point of nervous breakdown because I was giving up on Western civilization, and I thought, no, I don't know what's next, and it was not only because of that I was in exile, that Lithuania was sold like, say, gypsies sell horses, was sold to the Soviet Union by France, England, United States, and they gave it, take it. So that was only part of it, but I also felt that what happened in Europe and why I ended up in forced labor camp and then in 5 years of displaced person camps. I mean, no, and that's why I understand Palestinians, and that's why I won't go back. I won't visit Lithuania until Lithuania recognizes Palestine as a free, independent state. Yeah, that means Lithuania. When Lithuania regained their independence, they were so happy that Iceland, others recognized us. Now we are free. And when Palestine wants to be free, Lithuania abstains. What shame. I'm ashamed even to say this.
But because they're friends with America, so...
Friends with America.
Yeah, America is friends with Israel.
It's idiotic. That's not then, is Lithuania independent or a satellite? You see, if it doesn't, if it wants to be a satellite, first, I think that Lithuania should get rid of government like that. There should be a revolution of the young people against the in Lithuania. There should be a spring, another spring in Lithuania. In any case, it's just pretty hopeless sometimes. Playing politics with, being, being, I cannot excuse that. So now we are, where are we now? How did we come to that? But yes, the intensity, yes, yes.
When you fall in love, I mean, presumably you've fallen in love several times in your lifetime. When you fall in love for the third, fourth, fifth time or whatever, is it a do you feel it's a completely new thing, or are you just worshipping the same God through a different idol?
I can answer this question only with a quote from Casanova. And Casanova once wrote, said that I think it was Casanova, yes, any new love cancels, wipes out all the previous loves. That's more or less what we said. Yeah. That's, I would say, I go with Casanova's statement.
Tell us about your relationship with Tiny Tim.
I will, but as long as this conversation does not become an interview for the Playboy magazine, which sometimes it looks like sort of going towards it. But that's okay. Tiny Tim. Tiny Tim, in around 1960, in downtown New York, there were little theaters, movie houses, theaters, and sometimes I remember there was one sort of avant-garde kind of theater. The Living Theater was the name of the group. Very important theater group. And it was, I think, 1960, around that time, when in other places you go, and during the performance, something goes wrong, like lights blow out, like suddenly it's dark. And then you begin to hear music and singing and ukulele. And this, then lights come up, and then he stopped. And then because he became known as one who fills those empty, dead spaces when people become nervous. He's there sitting usually with a big shopping bag in which there's all kinds of items, but there is his ukulele. So when the lights go out, when people are fidgety and boring, what's happening? He pulls out his ukulele and begins to play and sing. And his voice was so beautiful and special. So I don't know, and that's somehow during those one of those events we met and we became friends. And actually, he wanted that I would try to sell. I became his first agent. So I recorded. I have 3 hours of unique Tiny Tim of between nine of. I actually recording I did in 62 or 63. So I have 3 hours of recording, which I tried to sell, but nobody was interested in that. But 5 years later, he became, he was discovered. But but he was discovered and destroyed because the beauty of Tiny Tim is his voice and his ukulele, nothing else. But when they discovered some big recording company, they put the music band behind him. So there was a music. All the early releases of Tiny Tim are with this bad, huge, loud music band, and there is Tiny Tim, trying to sing with it, and maybe sometimes you could hear ukulele, but they destroyed him. I still have those 3 hours of perfect, pure Tiny Tim tapes.
Can they be heard anywhere? Can they be heard anywhere? I wasn't aware of their
No,
existence.
I have them. Nobody has. I have them here in this room in which I'm sitting now.
This is a bit of a tease. How can we hear them?
If I would have known, I would have prepared. Because when they are not on cassette, they are on reel-to-reel tapes, and I have to set up. So, of course, I could, if you could come back in 1 hour, I could play some Sebastian and set it up.
Is that really possible?
Yes, that's possible. I can early pure Tiny Tim, like usually have something that nobody has heard actually.
We want Tiny Tim.
A glimpse of Tiny
Tim.
Yes.
One last question. Well, no, I don't know if it's the last couple. If you'd had a big budget at some point, what would you have done with it?
First, I would like to get that if I have a big budget, I would like to have it in cash, and I would put all that cash in a box and exhibit it as this is my work of art. This is my the 10 million in let's say $1 or in pennies maybe. I would have it. I would ask to have it in exhibit. Put it in exhibition. That my budget. Then I may do something with it. Maybe I may make a video that may cost me to make maybe $20, and the rest would stay in the box as work of art. Sebastian, can we set up Tiny Tim for this? Now I'm talking to Sebastian. Maybe just go from the beginning, maybe, of the series. What's at the very beginning?
I don't care if the sun don't shine.
Maybe go like a first couple.
Okay. Okay.
Of the beginning from the because I have 6 songs. She sang like joining. They never like separate. No space in between songs. One song dissolves into the next. It's difficult to separate them. It's like one piece that consists of like 60 songs. Okay, I think it's. Great, huh? That's when we kiss and kiss and kiss, and then we kiss some more. Who cares how many times we kiss at a time like this? Who keeps score? Now compare this to what was released. Huh? Good, they're happy songs. I don't care if the sun don't shine. I get my loving in the evening time when I'm with my baby. She was born in you see how they it joins them? Went to school in they dissolve like where she learned how ABC. Then she moved down to Georgia.
Where is this recorded in a studio and he's just singing them all?
Just in the loft. I had just a simple tape recorder. It was a good old-fashioned tape recorder that I had, and he kept singing. No, just simple. No mic, no mics, no nothing. It was directly old-fashioned tape recorder that I had, you know. But the quality is good. and how you cannot compare with. Have you heard what the commercial? Oh, no, it was not that. Okay, so
Well, thank you so much.
Thank
so
you.
can Sebastian fade it out. Professionally, his technician Sebastian is coming in. Yeah, you see.
Beautiful.
So
Thank you so much.
that was one of my early attempts to become a music agent, and I failed to sell him. Imagine, nobody. That was in 62, 63. Nobody was still interested. So you can tell the London music companies to really release it now. I just have no time to try to go around. I don't want them to destroy it.
Is there any little taster that you could send just for my own kind of private pleasure?
Oh, yeah, you can listen, watch this interview.
Very clever.